This time I'll call the Tuesday, March 15, 2011 meeting of the Iredell County Board of Commissioners to order, and I'll call upon Commissioner Renee Griffith to lead us in our invocation.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening and the time that we have together. Lord, we pray that you give us wisdom on directing the affairs of this county. And Lord, we do pray for our servicemen and women that are serving overseas, that you watch over them. And tonight, we also remember the people in Japan and our servicemen and women that are there. And Lord, we just pray that you bring peace and comfort and direction and help to the country. And we do thank you that you give us, again, wisdom on making right and just decisions. And we thank you for the blessings that you've given our country. And we ask all these things in your Son's name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Mashburn, do you have any adjustments of the agenda from the staff?
Mr. Chairman, 3 adjustments to make to the agenda this evening under presentations of special recognitions and award. Would like to add the Recognition of Excellence Award, and that'll be presented by Commissioner Robertson. And under appointments before the board, Mr. Bill Balato. And then over in administrative matters, item K is renewal of agreements, and Mr. Matt McCall, the Register of Deeds, will make that presentation. That'll be item K. And then, as you indicated earlier, there is a need to, under unfinished business, for special legislation discussion.
Okay.
Those are the changes that I have.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Are there any adjustments of the agenda from the board? Hearing none, the floor is open for a motion for adoption of this agenda as amended.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
All right. Motion for approval from Mr. Norman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. This time we have a presentation of special recognitions and awards in the Health Department, and I'll ask Ms. Donna Campbell to come forward. I believe Mr. Robertson is going to speak to this.
This is a unique and neat occasion. So many times government is accused of being inefficient and not particularly innovative. There's this stereotypical image of a bureaucrat. And one of the fun things about being involved in Iredell County and government and being associated with folks in the health department is that these are very innovative thinkers. All throughout our county, we've had 2 consecutive years of reducing budgets, but the job is still getting done. And the old adage, do more with less, don't work harder, work smarter, that is absolutely what's happened here. And it's refreshing to see that our Department of Health was recognized by an outside agency for being the most innovative. It figured out a way to do business better and smarter. They received this award, which is the Excellence in Local Government Award, and it's in the category of efficiency and effectiveness. Now, this was given by the Central Iowa Council of Government, And they had other categories that had to do with a variety of different services that people might provide. But what makes this one unique is that you had to be smart and you had to figure out a better way of doing things. And here in Iredell County, our folks made that happen. I'd like to tell you specifically what they did. I'm just going to read from the notes as it was written by the COG. They said, February 2010, Iredell County Health Department participated in a public health one course and learned Lean Six Sigma tools, methods, and principles to advance the department's system of storing, accessing, and retrieving septic system permits. The old system involved a paper filing process that was time-consuming with many steps and occasional inaccuracies. Converting hard copies of installed septic system permits into a digital format and an organized system has provided instant access to permits and has improved customer satisfaction due to rapid access of information, shortening customer response times. The average time to find and access a paper permit was at least 30 minutes compared to seconds with the digital format. This new system has improved employee satisfaction mainly because it has created efficiencies that now make the employee's job less frustrating. Customer satisfaction has also increased because copies of electronic permits can be instantly accessed and printed or emailed. Between May 2010 and January 2011, over 11,000 installed septic system permits have been digitized, and the department continues to see an overall increase in employee efficiency and customer satisfaction. So here tonight we have, of course, Donna, who heads up the department, David Henson, who heads up environmental health, Judy Melville, who's also one of the managers in environmental health, Steve Hedrick, who was instrumental in this project, and then also Norma Wright, who was kind of the lean manufacturing Six Sigma person who kind of headed up the effort that led to this project. So I'll present it to you, Donna, on behalf of your department, and I just want to recognize you and your staff for leading the way on efficiency, okay? Thank you. You'd like to say something?
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Under appointments before the board, Mr. Bill Balato is with us this evening. He would like to address the board. If you'd come forward, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Bill Balato, representing the Charlotte Regional Realtors Association. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak to you and your fellow commissioners tonight. First off, I want to say thank you, too, to the Health Department. As somebody who has to research septic permits all the time and used to sometimes have a very long wait to find them, what they're doing down there has made it very efficient for us in trying to move properties in this county, and we appreciate what you've done to support us. Thank you. This year, the Charlotte Regional Realtors Association's Housing Opportunity Foundation will host our third annual Realtors Care Day in Iredell and Mecklenburg counties on April 8th. I want to just take a minute to familiarize you with what we're doing here in Iredell and Mecklenburg counties. Of course, the Housing Opportunity Foundation is our charitable arm of our association. But what Realtors Care Day was an opportunity for us to help our fellow citizens stay in their homes. It was conceived as with the support of a lot of local organizations, including our Iredell Habitat for Humanity group, as a way to find homes that needed external repairs, particularly roofs and ways of keeping water intrusion out of houses, and also helping people with wheelchair ramps and accessibility issues as they often need as they age. Over the past 2 years, we've done 64 houses in Iredell and Mecklenburg counties and helped keep those people in the homes, and we'll have 650 volunteers doing another 30-plus houses this year. Very happy to say there'll be 4 of the houses in Statesville, and I haven't heard the final number for Mooresville, but at least 2 to 3 in the Mooresville area. Last year we happened to have 4 in Troutman, 1 in Statesville, and 3 down in Mooresville. So we're trying to have an impact throughout the county as much as is humanly possible. And there were over 200 volunteers that worked on those houses. We'd like to invite you to come see it. This year we'll have a media house on Ray Street here in Statesville if you'd like to come by and see what we're doing in the county. We want to make sure that we thank all our partners. Of course, Iredell County Habitats help us the most here. The Hammers program helps us down in Mooresville and North Mecklenburg, and then the City of Charlotte helps us as well. We're not trying to duplicate what somebody else is doing. We're trying to do something that Habitat's building houses from the ground up and doing rehab projects on the interior a lot. We're just trying to make sure we keep roofs over people's heads. I also want you to know that our Housing Opportunity Foundation supports fair housing and affordable housing throughout the year. We train realtors on how to work with fair and affordable housing. We offer fairs, workforce fairs, to help people with staying in their homes. And I want to thank you again for allowing me to make this presentation to you tonight. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ballatoe. That brings us to administrative matters. Mr. Mashburn, I'll let you take over here.
The first item we have, Mr. Chairman, is a request from Pam Navy to approve the FY 11-12 Criminal Justice Partnership Program. Ms. Navy.
Good evening, Chairman Johnson, Commissioners, Mr. Mashburn. It is with pleasure that I come back before the Commissioners of Iredell County for the 15th year of having these pass-through dollars from the Criminal Justice Partnership to our program of appropriate placement options. We do have a little reduction coming forward this year in those funds, but we just ask that you folks consider that and grant that for us to do that. And I want to tell you that to look forward, we are strong partners this year with the community again with our Global Youth Service Day that's coming up in April, and be looking for that. It's going to be in the media, and we're going to be sharing some things on the internet about that also. And we look forward to serving this community again, continue the service, and thank you for all of your support. Questions?
Okay, is any questions, Ms. Navy?
Do you have any idea how you will make up the difference between last year's budget and this year?
It's less than $2,000, and we have already looked at our budget, and we're taking that out of operating expenses. We're not adding any to personnel. We're not adding any to contractual. We'll be taking that out of the operating expenses.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, the request this evening is for approval of this budget. If no other questions, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve it.
Motion for approval from Mr. Mitchell. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Navy.
Next item is a request to approve some fees from the Recreation Department. Michelle Hepler, make that presentation.
Good evening, folks. Thanks for allowing me to be present and represent the Parks and Rec Department and bring before you our fee schedule that we're proposing to implement CPR, first aid, and AED classes. A bit of background information about how we reached this document. We have always trained our staff in-house, our counselors, our facilitators, and other full-time employees by having an American Red Cross instructor on staff. Here in the last several years, we've been approached by other county departments as well as outside nonprofit organizations to provide that service for them, and never had a formal fee structure to refer to, and have basically charged on a case-by-case basis. And so this is just a formal document basically saying how we would like to be able to charge interdepartmental agencies as well as outside agencies. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to ask or answer.
Are there any questions, Ms. Hepler?
Do these fees actually cover the cost that is incurred to conduct a class?
They do.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, the request again is for approval of this fee schedule.
Motion to adopt the new fee schedule.
Okay. Motion to approve from Vice Chairman Norman. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Hepler.
Thank you.
Chief Rick Dowdle will now make the request from the Sheriff Office for a couple of items, memo number 3 and 4.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Glad to be here tonight. I have Captain Campbell with me on the two pieces of equipment we're asking to purchase. If you have any questions, bring him to the podium and let him answer those for you if you have. The first one, we're asking to move $8,084.99 for the purchase of a universal forensic extraction device for mobile telephones. And this is a device that will be used that once we get on a scene, a crime scene, that if we need to expedite some information from a cell phone, we will be able to do this with this piece of equipment. Furthermore, speeding up the process other than the time it takes. We have to go through the phone system sometime, the companies, to do this. So we're asking tonight that you approve that for us.
This is a mobile device that you can take out on a crime scene or whatever?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
How much time will this save? How much time does it take now to retrieve the data?
Darren, you want to answer that? I'll let Captain Campbell answer any specifics you may have.
Good evening. Usually what we would do, we'd have to apply for a search warrant. With this, we can basically, on scene, we can get it and do it. It's basically a max dump of the phone into a system that we can read then to track anything from missing persons, last known calls, call histories, or anything, versus waiting on the service provider to give us that information at their leisure, which can be anywhere from 3 days to a week.
Any other questions?
Is it a search warrant then isn't needed to dump the information, to pull it? You wouldn't need a search warrant?
No, not a lot of times. That gets in the criminal side of it. No, a lot of times you can get, and plus you would have an owner there that could tell you. And a lot of times the people are scared and they've deleted something accidentally. That's where we'll be able to retrieve most of it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, the floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve the request.
Okay. Motion from Vice Chairman Norman for approval of the budget amendment number 33. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Our next item will be budget amendment number 34, is to transfer from our funds $8,195. This is to purchase a computer voice stress analyzer, which we can use at the sheriff's office. This is just a further upgrade. Some of the equipment we have there now, this will do a little bit more than what we can do with some of the equipment we already have in place. Plus, we use, sometimes we need both pieces of equipment going at the same time, and if we don't have this piece of equipment, it just further delays us sometime in trying to get some information. So we're asking at this time we proceed on with this.
You're not going to turn that on during county commissioner meetings, are you?
I would not do that, no, sir.
How close do you have to be to the person to get this?
Well, we can try it if you want.
Okay. Not serious. How do you have to be right up in front of them to try to detect the?
It has to be hooked. Yeah, it's an interview, so it'd have to be pretty much face to face.
Okay.
This is new. Does this analyze stress in your voice to see if you're under duress, under stress.
It's basically for the stress of the speaker.
Okay.
Pretty interesting.
You'll keep asking these kind of questions, you might need the assistance of Mr. Pope. Okay, any other questions? If not, floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve budget amendment number 34.
Motion to approval from Vice Chairman Norman. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Y'all have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay, the next item is a request from the Code Enforcement Special Projects Department to approve an amendment to the existing project ordinance for stimulus grant. And Ms. Blumenstein.
Yes, Lyndon Block asked me to present this to you tonight. The original Department of Energy grant that was approved for Iredell County and awarded last year, $482,100, had not been fully allocated and included in our ordinance. And Lynn has plans and has developed a plan to use the rest of those funds to improve the energy efficiency in our existing buildings, and also to pay for a person who is currently in the inspections department and train them as our energy coordinator. This person is already analyzing a lot of in fact, all of our data for utilities bills, and will purchase some software to make that process more efficient. And this recognizes those funds so we can reimburse the general fund for those salaries and other costs.
Okay, any questions of Ms. Blumenstein?
What happens when the funds are gone and the position is still there? Will we then have to pick up funding for that position that was created?
No, actually, the position was already existing in the county, and Department of Energy gave us the permission to use some of these funds to pay for that position that was already approved, and an inspector whose current workload allows him to do this instead of inspecting buildings. There'll be no promise for the county to pick up the salary as an energy coordinator when the grant expires.
When will the grant expire?
I believe it's 18 more months remaining.
Will this cover his salary for the additional 18 months, or does it just backtrack and cover?
It'll pick up from February when he was moved into that position, and then for the next 12 months.
Okay, any other questions? If
Thank
not, yes, ma'am. If not, floor is open for a motion.
Chair, I'm going to move for approval.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
Tracy Jackson will present memo number 6 and 7.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I have before you tonight a proposed new ordinance. This came to us from Mooresville Fire Department. They are serving Iredell County as our hazardous materials response team. They've done so since after 9/11, when a lot of Homeland Security money came out, and they stepped forward and offered to take on that responsibility. It's a service we hadn't previously had in the county, and actually relied on resources from Charlotte Fire Department and outside the region in the event of a large hazardous materials incident. The problem that they've run into over the years in terms of responding within the county is trying to recover their costs for the services they're providing. It is very expensive. There's some high-tech equipment, a lot of protective gear that they have to use in dealing with these hazardous chemicals. So what they're looking for is a mechanism that will allow them to charge the responsible party of a hazardous materials incident, and they're asking for this in the form of a county ordinance. So that's what we presented to you tonight. It is an item that we're requesting a public hearing for on April 5th at your next meeting, and just seeking approval for that.
Okay.
But it doesn't specify how much,
Right.
what the the fee?
Will the fee be based on the actual cost to clean up the?
The fee's based on the actual cost in terms of the supplies and the equipment that they use, their manpower, their labor cost.
It would seem it would be hard to come up with just a base fee because.
Well, and they have a schedule for that. Basically, what they use is the FEMA schedule for equipment and manpower.
For just the incident, or are they seeking, do you know, to recoup training cost and all that stuff?
That's just for the incident. That's for actual response, yes. Right. They've actually taken on the cost related to operations and training internally.
They would bill the person directly, and the county would not be responsible for trying to collect any money.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, the floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve the request.
Okay, motion to approve a request for a public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the next item is a request from Health Reach Community Clinic in Mooresville. These folks are a nonprofit, and they are interested in utilizing the old EMS garage, which is located behind Iredell County Government Center South, which is the old hospital there in Mooresville. They would like to take that, be able to renovate it, and use it for meeting space, for group therapy sessions, and other large meetings that are related to different services they provide there in the community. What we have is a lease agreement in 2-year increments for $1 a year to be able to utilize that space. And I believe you have a copy of an aerial shot there showing the proposed space and the square footage. And really it's just the footprint of the building, the actual garage facility, and some space in front of it for parking.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Jackson?
Are we currently using this building?
We are not.
We're not using it.
We don't foresee any use we'd have for it for at least 2 years?
No, sir, not that space. EMS, of course, moved out several years ago into a bigger facility, so they're settled in pretty good. And then we have a good deal of square footage in the Iredell County Government Center South if we were, to need some storage space or something along those lines.
Okay. They're responsible, looks like, for insurance and utility costs, and we keep the building up. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve this request for the lease for the Health Reach Community Clinic.
Motion for approval comes from Ms. Griffith. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Kenny Miller is here from the Iredell Statesville School System to request approval to apply for lottery funds.
Chairman Johnson, Commissioners, glad to be here tonight. We were requesting that we be able to apply for $800,000 in lottery funds. This is a reimbursement for our project at the CAT Center, which is a career and technical school. And we'll be finishing up on our final phase for this project on the Auto Tech program.
Dr. Miller, will this cover all your costs?
This will cover all the costs that have been associated with the Career Tech Center to this point. As you may recall, we entered into that project with a pay-as-you-go plan so that we do not have any debt service. And that project is primarily being done through the lottery funds.
Okay. You've already expended these money, and this
Yes.
is going to reimburse.
This is a reimbursement.
Want to flip a coin, double or nothing?
On whether or not it'll be there.
No, lottery. That's the way we
I know,
govern these days.
I know.
Gambling.
Well, it's always a gamble with the state.
I know it's
so.
not your choice.
Well, the luck I've been having lately, I might try it.
I know.
Okay. Any questions of Dr. Miller? If not, floor's open for a motion.
Motion to approve the request.
Motion to approve the request from Vice Chairman Norman. Any discussion?
I just want to make one comment.
Yes, sir.
This board, we always discouraged or using lottery proceeds as just some sort of a base revenue stream that we could borrow against. We always kind of considered this money, the money that we got, it would be nice if we got it, but we should never assume that we're going to get it. And now that the state is working on its budget, it seems like they're planning on raiding the lottery funds more and more. Just, the wisdom of this board to take that approach and the wisdom of the school board to not fight us on that approach turned out to be the right decision, because it sure looks like in the next budget year, when you come and apply for your portion of the lottery proceeds, those numbers are going to be a lot smaller.
That's correct. I think that's been wise. This is first and second quarter that have been posted. As you well know, these are posted after the fact. And many times they will lay in Raleigh for 2 months before we ever know how much we actually received. So we've been trying to draw those down as a reimbursement and use some of our fund balance to keep the project rolling, and then we know that we can cut it off if the state pulls the funds, and we still have the project piece finished. So it's worked very well, and this will draw it down again, and then we'll see what happens with the next quarter.
Right. We've talked about this before, Dr. Miller, but you've tightened up the time frame between the time the money's laying there and you ask for it, and I'd encourage you to keep that time frame short.
Yes. The way the time frame is that if the application is not in by the 25th, it carries another month. Right. So we appreciate the board's indulgence and sometimes getting this on the agenda a little more quickly than we anticipated.
Anytime you need to get here in a hurry, you just one phone call to get you here, okay?
We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, are you ready for a motion?
Did we have a motion? I think Mr. Norman made a motion.
Oh, he did? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. All in favor of the motion for approval, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, a request from the Tax Administration Department to submit to the board and ask your approval for some refunds and releases. Under the releases, we have a total of $40,199.84. $23,287 of those are county, would be county revenues. Refunds totals $15,437.27, with $8,570.83 of those being county general fund refunds. Request your approval.
Okay. Floor is open for a motion.
So moved.
Motion for approval from Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Next item is the approval of the March 1st, 2011 minutes.
Okay. Assuming you've had an opportunity to review those, the floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve from Vice Chairman Norman. All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
The Register of Deeds, Mr. Matt McCall, will now make a request concerning extension of an addendum to some COD agreements.
Mr. Chairman and Board, this request is for the renewal of expired contracts. The contracts are actually amendments to a master contract that extends through June 30th of 2012. By allowing these renewals, we'll be able to drop the number of user licenses we have for the software we currently use in the office, and it'll save the county about $11,000 the next 14 months. And you have any questions for me?
Repeat that again. How much we're going to save?
$11,200.
You're doing a good job over there.
Yeah, the way it works is we currently have 5 licenses for different services from the same vendor, and they're all for different software packages they're pretty much intermingled, and you can't bid them out separately. So renewing these contracts in order to modify a current contract that won't end until June 30th, the vendor has agreed to allow us to modify that to do the saving. Otherwise, we'll just be month to month and continue on the same fee schedule.
If there is a need, if your business picks up that you need additional licenses, are you able to go back and add those in, or do you foresee that that's not going to be something?
Personally, it's only for another 14 months, and I really, based on the past 3 months and the past 2 years of data, I don't think we're going to see a big jump in the amount of work we do, unfortunately.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, floor is open for a motion.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Robertson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And Mr. McCall, thank you for your good work, sir.
Thank you.
And that concludes the administrative matters, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. We have announcements of vacancies occurring on boards and commissions. Nursing Home Advisory Committee, we have 2 announcements. In terms of Mary Jane Sutton and Jane Inert expired in April. Ms. Sutton is willing to serve again. We have no appointments to boards and commissions this evening, so we'll move to unfinished business. And Mr. Ron Smith, and I asked Mr. Smith to come before us tonight. We've had a bit of a hiccup in terms of our local legislation proposed for Troutman, in that there's some angst, I guess is a good term, as far as the leadership in introducing this bill or allowing it to be introduced. And Representative Gray Mills said if we would scale the request back a little bit, he thought it would be viewed more favorably in Raleigh. So, Mr. Smith, if you'd take it from there, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I brought this map. Now, this is an old map, I'll admit. This kind of put this together at the last minute. But especially for Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Griffith, wanted to kind of give an idea of what the Exit 42 US 21 relationship is south of Troutman. The original request that the board signed a resolution of support for the town of Troutman for ETJ extension would have allowed for up to 1 mile of ETJ, and that's zoning and subdivision authority, from their from their satellite annexations. That's fairly uncommon. So the reason that they asked for that particular configuration was the investment that has been made based on water and sewer extensions down to Exit 42 and the development that has subsequently taken place. So that's kind of where we have been. Before that ever happened, we worked on a zoning overlay that that went along US 21 from the Troutman planning boundary here all the way down to Westmoreland Road, which was the annexation boundary between Mooresville and the town of Troutman. That is an area that the town is very interested in protecting. That is basically the area. It's predominantly commercial in nature, especially as you get towards the interchange. And if you go along 21 going south to Westmoreland, if it's not commercial now, it's got a for sale sign in the front yard. And to some degree, the same holds true going back north. In my conversations with the town today, they would ask that the county commissioners consider this configuration or one very similar to it in lieu of the request that is not going to be considered by the legislature. That would be the 1 mile around those satellite annexations. Now, I know I just threw a lot at you, so if you have any questions, I'd be glad to try and answer them.
Are they asking to annex that into the town of Troutman, or just have jurisdiction over what goes into that area?
Excellent question. This would just be jurisdiction. It would be subdivision and zoning jurisdiction only.
Is the question coming from the legislature that they're concerned that if they give them the jurisdiction, it may lead to annexation?
I don't know what the details are from the legislature. In many cases, though, some people equate ETJ with future annexation.
Do you know how much money the town of Troutman has invested in the water and sewer?
I do not.
Know.
I do not. I will say on the annexation issue, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
All of these annexations have been voluntary, and that's been the practice of the town.
That's good.
And we would anticipate that any additional ones would also be voluntary because it's in the property owner's interest to have it.
Yeah, Troutman it's pretty much been their policy, like the other municipalities. They won't run water and sewer unless you agree to be an annex.
Mm-hmm.
And have they run water and sewer all the way down this area?
I believe they can serve to this area here, but I believe there's actually a connection all the way to Mooresville, or is in the works. Yes.
Where's the Lowe's store on that map?
Lowe's is in this area right here.
I saw a map of what they were wanting after we voted on that last one. If I'd have known it was that bad, I would have never voted for it. I mean, they were really land grabbing. So I'm glad that this has come back. But I have also since heard that Troutman's playing hardball with some companies that have come in and want to build a couple of nice national chain facilities on 21. I'm just getting a little bit gun shy to give Troutman any more until I find out what's going on down there. So I was told there was a Bojangles and the Sheets that gave up. They got tired of fooling with them. So are you familiar with either one of those projects that we could have maybe helped them, located them there?
I think actually both of them are back on the table. I know Bojangles has had a lot of trouble between their spacing with McDonald's and town regulations. And admittedly, the town has some pretty stiff zoning regulations in place. However, they have seen development take place under their regulations. The Wendy's, I believe, Lowe's, and the out parcels that were developed in front of Lowe's, which included McDonald's. So yeah, they're pretty strict, but I think that those two that you mentioned are back on the table, if I'm not mistaken.
Are they going to be affected by this at all?
My guess is, I don't know for sure. My guess is, the last I heard, that most of the development that has been proposed has been on the out parcels in front of Lowe's, which have already been annexed in to the town, so they really would not be affected by this.
I was asked to attend a meeting between Howard Bryan, who was representing Sheets, and Bojangles, David Saleeby, and the mayor. I came away from that meeting, Ms. Smith, understanding they'd resolved their differences. And Troutman has streamlined their, I guess, appeals process for a variance, which seemed to settle things down a good bit. So,
is there any confidence that if we vote yes on this, that it will be approved by the legislature, or will it, or do you think that it could possibly come back to us to look at it again?
I really don't have any way of answering it.
Okay.
what was the feeling I got talking to Representative Mills was the current atmosphere in regard to annexation in Raleigh. You know, they've held repeated hearings on annexation policy. I think it's a safe bet that annexation laws are going to change. To what degree is anybody's guess. But in that atmosphere that's over there right now, to come forth virtually with any kind of ETJ local bill request, unless it deals with a very defined area that is probably transitional, it's going to have a poor time being approved. That's what he communicated to me. Ms. Griffiths, to speak to your question directly, I can't tell you that this is going to be approved. The only thing that was a safe bet was the original request we had was not going to be approved.
The configuration, it strikes me as kind of odd of how they arrived at that configuration for ETJ. Is it?
Well, this one is a little odd, and again, I apologize. I put this together real late. This basically follows property lines where possible. When we did the overlay, it was generally speaking 300 feet on either side of 21 from the center line. And if a property was pretty close, you know, if it was pretty close to incorporating the whole property, we went out with the property line. What I would recommend is that if you choose to support this, I would say 300 feet on either side of 21 using the center line as the center.
Okay, that makes more sense.
And therefore, it'd just be straight.
Yeah, the original request from Troutman was, I think about close to 3 years ago, was they wanted ETJ along 21. And that's understandable because they do have significant investment down there. I would say, Ms. Griffith, they got upwards of $3 million invested in infrastructure from their town limits to exit 42. So they needed some way to protect their investment so that you wouldn't have a hodgepodge of development. And they approached, I believe at that time, Chairman Williams and I met with them, and I said that I would agree to some extension of ETJ if they would do a roadway protection plan on 21, which would protect their investment and preclude any attempt or trouble with developers coming who are going to build something to go to the county to get an approval and then back to Troutman and back to the county. They were agreeable to that. And at that time, I suggested we limit the ETJ to any property that fronts 21, because if they're going to get water and sewer, they're going to have to be annexed anyway, so to some extent ETJ was superfluous. And they agreed to that. Then they came back and they wanted an expansion of the ETJ. And a compromise was we would agree to the expansion of the ETJ as long as the Board of Commissioners had the final say-so as to whether that ETJ was granted. That brought us to the point we are now where the legislature, the leadership in the legislature is basically saying we're not going to talk about any kind of ETJ along those lines. So they expressed that they may be more willing to look at something over a more narrow area, which is acceptable to Troutman.
And to some degree, you know, as with many, many things right now, this whole area is a microcosm of the economy. When things were rocking and rolling, we had Lowe's coming in, we had proposals on many of these tracts, rezonings all the way up to Ostwald, Amity, and then everything died off. The town had gotten legislation several years ago to annex larger areas. Basically, there's a limit on their annexation. You can only annex satellite 1/10 of your corporate size. They got legislation to go bigger because of the growth demand here and the inability to involuntarily annex coming down 21. So now they're kind of stuck. They put all the money into it, and they have these satellite annexations, and they're trying to, you know, protect them, in their words.
Okay. Well, what my intention this evening was to educate you so that you wouldn't be caught by surprise about what had happened. And I would like for us to to take action to instruct Mr. Smith to amend the original request for ETJ to what he has proposed here. And we give them the authority to contact Representative Mills and tell him that that is our desire, and that he do so as quickly as possible with a follow-up letter that he would sign stating that the board had taken such action. And I, like you, Ms. Griffith, that over the years have had some reluctance to ETJ, but this is different in the sense that that's going to be commercial property, and Troutman is not going to risk their investment unless they have some control over the area. So the effort is to establish tax base, and most of the owners are willing to do that because they do realize a significant increase in the value of their property. So since I brought it up, I'll make that motion. Any discussion on that motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Folks. Appreciate your time. Okay. Any other unfinished business? Public comments? New business? County manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing we have is closed session.
Okay. At this point, I move that we go into closed session under General Statute 143-318-11A4 for economic development. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. will be action as a result of the closed session. The floor is open for a motion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to call for a public hearing on April 5th, 2011 at 7 p.m. regarding an economic development incentive of $142,000 over a 5-year period for an undisclosed company based on a $10 million investment in Iredell County.
Okay. Any questions or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. At this point, I offer a motion that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.